From a cash flow perspective, over the course of time, you can scale a brand very, very strongly, assuming that your systems and their franchise partners are successful for pennies on the dollar. Now, that said, one of the things that I've certainly learned throughout the process, and I learned a lot from my business partner and founder, is the value of sales and marketing. As they say in sports, winning cures all. As they say in business, like sales and profitability cures all. So, we thankfully have a really strong sales and marketing engine, and that's been able to help us.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, sharing our methods and strategies for success. Join in on our conversations with business owners as we highlight their triumphs and detail how they overcame the challenges they faced while continuing to grow and scale their business. It's time to think life, think success, and think business with your host, Tyler Martin.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Think Business with Tyler. Today, we're diving into the world of franchising with Bryce Henson, CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp. He's here to share his journey from starting as a franchise partner to becoming a charismatic leader driving success across nearly 300 locations. We're talking scaling challenges, leadership, and the muscle behind effective marketing. So grab your coffee and let's get the insights rolling. Hey, Bryce, welcome to the Think Business with Tyler podcast show. How is it going today?
Tyler, so great to connect. Happy Friday, fired up.
Yeah, great to have you. I'm excited because I don't usually have guests that are in California with me, although you're on the other side. But it's great to have you in the same state. And you finally can probably relate. Whenever I talk to people, I complain about how it's been rainy so much this year and it's always gloomy. Can you kind of relate to that a little bit?
Oh, we are so soft here in California when it comes to the weather because yes, two things can be true. It was rainy and all that, but in the grand scheme of things, holy smokes, we can't complain. We have beautiful weather, but excited now. Sunshine and good things ahead.
I know it changes things when that sun pops out.
Totally.
And you're driving around in your car. It just it just fires you up. So, hey, where I'd love to start is learning a little bit, two things. One is learning a little bit about you professionally, what you do. And then I'd love if you'd share something about yourself personally, just anything you're willing to share. I'd love to just know a little bit about you.
Oh, cool. Well, jump in with the personal. So, I kind of a hybrid. I am the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, which is a fastest growing indoor fitness bootcamp franchise on the planet. We have just nearly 300 locations throughout North America, about 90% in the States, 10% in Canada. And our mission is to inspire fitness, change lives every day. More of the tagline, this is my life's work. And I'm just so grateful to lead an organization of franchise partners, of coaches that love breathing life, fire, fitness into our clients' hearts, minds, and souls. And a little bit about me personally. Well, I come from humble beginnings for First World Standards. My first 10 years, I grew up in a trailer park, a double wide in the Southeast, not because of my mom. She's an amazing soul. My father was addicted to gambling, alcohol, and drugs, not the trifecta for a good family upbringing. So challenging, rocky road. I would say volatility would be a way to describe my youth, but there is beauty in the struggle, and challenge and adversity creates growth and opportunity. And going through that, really, I saw my mom, work really hard, living with our grandma for a period of time while she got on her feet, saw the work ethic of a Midwestern, blue collar work culture. So I learned a lot, in my youth, even despite those challenges. And I feel like developed a strong work ethic and just calling to serve humanity. So in all grand scheme of things, it worked out to be an advantage.
Yeah, very cool. At what point do you, obviously, for the folks who can't see you on camera, you're in great shape. So at what point do you get into fitness and have this passion to bring it to other people? Is that during all these challenges or does that happen later on?
Well, thank you first and foremost. I definitely try my best. Great question as well. So my first 10 years were in Georgia. Thankfully, by the grace of God, my mom got us out of that situation. So we escaped to Michigan, where she grew up, and we lived with my grandma for the better part of 10 years. So that's where I spent my later childhood, early adult in the Midwest, which is a great place, amazing salt of the earth people. But one thing, Tyler, we can know for sure, it's not the fitness capital of the world. So I joke around in the sense that growing up, I was allergic to lifting weights, fast food, specifically Taco Bell was a staple in my diet. So no, I was not always a fit guy. In fact, when I graduated from college, how the story goes, I got an internship, which then eventually turned into a full-time sales opportunity in Los Angeles, California. And this is about 2004, 2005. And I was excited to be in LA, the palm trees, the blue skies, everything that California, LA has to offer. But one thing is for certain: when you're 3,000 miles from home, you're not connected, you don't have a lot of life and professional skills. I had more dark days than good. And Tyler, if you break it down, I didn't have energy, enthusiasm. I didn't have fitness in my life. And that was really an eye-opening situation after living, that way for a couple of years. A fortuitous situation happened. One of my best buddies from college, he ended up moving out west, and he was my first unofficial personal trainer. His name was Adam. He had the six-pack abs, the glistening muscles. All the girls loved him. I looked up to that. And finally, after a period of a few months living with him, I mustered up enough courage to ask him, "Hey, Adam, can you show me a bit about this fitness game?" And really, he opened my eyes and ears to the fitness game. I joined, his program for the better part of 2 years. And that was really what transformed me and gave me the enthusiasm to now wanting to be, get in the fitness industry and now becoming the CEO of an international fitness brand.
Very cool. What age was that where Adam entered the picture and you started to get a passion for fitness?
Yeah, so I was 21 when I graduated from school. So I lived in LA for about 2 years. So from 23 to 25, that's when I synced up with Adam and went through my transformation. So young guy in the grand scheme of things. At about 25, I hit my stride. About 2 years later, and it wasn't until actually about 2 years into the workout regimen when someone walked up to me at the gym and he said, "Hey, I want to introduce myself. I see you lifting weights. How do you eat?" And Tyler, I'll never forget, like, my identity hadn't changed yet. Yeah, I had learned fitness. I'd been doing it for a couple of years underneath Adam's tutelage, but it was the first moment in time where I realized, like, oh, wait, I could actually help other people with fitness. And that was kind of the light bulb moment, if you will, that allowed me to then become a certified personal trainer and then start in this career path.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
I could actually help other people with fitness. And that was kind of the light bulb moment, if you will, that allowed me to then become a certified personal trainer and then start in this career path.
Yeah. It's funny how I think a lot of us are either on the receiving side of that or on the giving side of that. I'll never forget, I went to a club many years ago that I was going to regularly, and there was this guy. I think he was an Army guy. I know he was definitely in the service, just ripped, really nice guy, always would say hi to me. And one day he comes up to me and he goes, do you mind, can I give you some feedback on your form? And I go, oh yeah, man. I was like enamored by the fact that he'd even take time to talk to me. And he literally took me through his whole workout. And he said, next week I want to come. We're going to come on this time. Let's walk through. I'm going to show you my workout. And that stuck with me. Like it gave me a lot of excitement about fitness after that. And I immersed myself in it. So it's amazing how we have such a, when you're in the gym, I know we don't always want to be interrupted, but it can really have a huge impact on people.
Totally. And to that point, I love the connection, the relationship, the community, and we need support. And one thing I love about fitness, Tyler, is a lot of times human nature will disappoint ourselves.
Yeah.
But when we hire a coach or build a friendship with someone from an accountability partner, whether paid or unpaid, typically speaking, we have a hard time disappointing other people. So that community is really important for, long-term fitness results.
Right. And my audience, entrepreneurs and business owners, I mean, it's so important for our mind, not just our bodies, but just our mind, just to be staying active and doing things. So what you're doing, I mean, it has a big impact. I want to get into what's the business model for Fit Body Bootcamp? Like, what's your vision? Like, what's the business model? Where do you see it going?
Yeah. So, I mean, at a headquarters perspective, we're a franchise business system, just like, major franchises that you're certainly aware of. And, we like to say for our franchise partners, they're in business for themselves, but not by themselves. So they have an amazing support system from a coaching, from marketing operations perspective. So, but foundationally at our core, since we franchise our business model, that's the nuts and bolts. But for our franchise partners and local business owners, the business opportunity for them is a scalable and a business based off reoccurring revenue, which is really, really important. So most times clients don't join our program without, tasting it or sampling it. We have what's called our signature program or ultimate transformation program, which is a 6-week program. We have a guaranteed or transformation guarantee, which we guarantee that will allow our clients or get our clients to lose 10 pounds within 6 weeks, or they train for free until they do. So typically that's the first point of entry into our program. After we build results, we build trust, we have that connection for the 6 weeks, then the vision is they continue on in one of our two membership options, either with nutrition coaching, without nutrition coaching. And that reoccurring business model is just really important for predictable income, for forecasting, for especially for small business owners. So that would be just generally speaking how we operate, but certainly happy to articulate more.
Right. So, you have one franchise that kind of focuses around points and really drives that additional burn after a workout. And then you have another franchise that is really big into like functional fitness. And that's kind of, I would argue, maybe is their differentiator. Where do you kind of guys feel you fall in terms, is it that the lose 10 pounds, until you lose 10 pounds, we're going to work with you? Is that your differentiator? Or where would you say, what would you offer different to maybe someone that's going to come to you and say, hey, I want to work out with you guys?
Yeah, super important question, especially if you're a business audience. You always have to have a USP, a unique selling proposition.
Yeah.
And for ours is actually the efficiency. So we execute 30-minute workouts or 30-minute sessions of high intensity interval training, which you break it down, 30 minutes is 2% of your day. So our program is designed not for, the high-end sports, athlete who's trying to shave a second off their 40-yard dash to make the NFL combine. We service, everyday people, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even early 60s, but are professionals. They have children, work, kids. They know they need to be fit, even though fitness is not their forte. So in a very efficient way, we can get someone incredible results within a 30-minute session. So that's one, I guess, of our USPs. And the other one, as you just mentioned, was the results. So nutrition is the biggest factor in changing someone's body composition. So many programs actually don't have, fitness programs, I should say, don't have a nutrition component to it. So we do, and we have a very strong one at that. So you combine our 30-minute sessions with high efficiency, you combine our nutrition coaching program, you get awesome results. And then the last benefit would just be the community. And, that said, from a USP perspective, there's also other programs out there that have community. So I wouldn't say that's a great USP like the first two, but it's just an additional benefit of our program.
Although I will say, each attract their own style of person. You just said, I think you said 40, 50, 60. So you're going to attract a certain style, and people are generally going to gravitate towards that community that feel they fit into that. So I will say that could arguably be a little bit USP in terms of who you're targeting, because probably like a guy like me, I'm probably going to integrate with your facility pretty well because I'm in a group of peers rather than, it's funny, when I was in my late 40s, I've been to many of these different things, and I used to have people next to me that were in their 20s, and I'm trying to keep up. And I used to be able to do it in my 40s. Now I'm, in mid 50s, and I can't do it. It's just the body falls apart too fast. So it's kind of nice when you're in a group of people that are kind of in the same stage of life.
Totally.
I think it makes it more connectable. So that's cool. So how many facilities did you guys have that you personally owned before you went down the franchise path, or did you immediately go down the franchise path?
It's a great question. I have a really interesting, story and pathway and how I got involved in this. So I just gave you the origin story, if you will, in terms of how I got fit. Then I became a certified personal trainer. Then I updated my Facebook profile to personal trainer. I started receiving ads from this gentleman named Bryce Henson, who turns out to be my business partner. He's actually the founder of Fit Body Bootcamp. So I'm the CEO. I oversee the brand ever since mid-2021, but I'm not the founder. In fact, I joined as a franchise partner back in 2012. So I connected with Bryce, our founder. I started following him on social media, and he started talking about this little thing called Fit Body Bootcamp back in 2011 and 2012 is transferring from a licensee program to a brick and mortar franchise system. And I was one of the first early adopters, if you will. So I joined the brand in 2012, and I'm going to give you the highlights. There was a lot of lowlights and learning lessons along the way, but from 2012 to 2018, I ended up scaling to a handful of locations, 5 locations. I brought my family on board, my wife, my mom, my brother, my sister. So kind of made this cool family thing, and, had a lot of success during those years. And again, a lot of failures and learning lessons and leadership learning lessons as well, which I'm happy to unpeel the kimono, if you will. But that all in mind, we have a relationship focused business, but I also think business is done through relationships, through networking. And with my success, with my scalability and my location, and also the relationship that I built with our founder and my business partner, Bryce, he ended up reaching out to me in 2018 because of that success. And our brand was really starting to exponentially grow. And he offered me the vice president role because he wanted more owner influence in the brand. And that was the first step for me joining joining headquarters. And then, as you would imagine, being the vice president of an international fitness brand, which eventually turned into the CEO position a couple of years later in 2021, I thought it was a prudent decision to very profitably, and also another value add in the franchise system, sell my locations. I still have one location, but I sold four profitably. And that way I could spend more time and focus on our headquarters. So that's kind of how the whole story came to be. I started as a franchise partner, literally from the bottom up. I was the bookkeeper, the janitor, the marketer, all that, and then worked my way to become the CEO of this brand, which is a wild ride.
Wow. And then you sold essentially four businesses. Did you sell all four to one individual, or were they four separate sales?
Four separate sales, and actually from a
Wow.
stepladder, a staggered approach, if you will. So I wanted to make sure, and there were some geography differences as well. So it wouldn't have made sense for the one owner. I shouldn't say it wouldn't have made sense, but it wasn't as logistically easy as maybe it seemed to be on paper. But also, too, I wanted to make sure that I could focus in on each location and be able to recruit, vet a proper owner that was going to provide the care and love and support. And also to make sure they were transitioning really well, because we are in the relationship business. So yes, we have an awesome program, but we really teach our coaches, our head coaches, our client coordinators, which are positioned location, to build strong relationships. So, which is a great thing in terms of, growth and retention. But what happens is when a location sells, you really have to put a lot of time, energy, and focus to make sure those relationships and the transfer happens really well. So that way you don't experience contraction, with the transfer. So because of that, Tyler took a stepladder approach and ended up selling about one a year for the period of 4 years.
Very cool. Very cool. So I had a guest on my show a while back. His name's John Hewitt, and he's kind of the tax franchise guy. So he's had a few very highly successful tax franchises. And one thing he said that really never had clicked with me until he said it. He said, I've made over 1,000 millionaires in my lifetime. That's because he sold them franchises, and they all went on to become highly successful. So it's kind of interesting, you being in that role. I mean, you're giving an opportunity. Not only are you helping people that become members of your facility and help them both in fitness and mental wellness, but the people that buy your franchises, the franchisees, they have a tremendous opportunity to also become potentially wealthy in doing good too. So it's you're in a really cool area of industry.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I couldn't agree more. I can sleep really, good at night, knowing first and foremost, my first love, my first passion is the fitness realm. And that's actually how I started. And my first, focus was servicing fitness clients. But then, Tyler, to your point, as my career has changed and changes in the organization, now most of my attention isn't on our end user, which we call Mr. and Mrs. Jones. It's actually on our franchise partners, supporting them from a business perspective. So now, that's given me a lot of personal growth and allowed me to support our franchise partners, which then, to your point, they've been able to impact their communities from a fulfillment, but also from a financial business opportunity as well.
If you're a business owner feeling stuck in your business, overwhelmed, responsible for everything that happens, and working long hours, Tyler helps his clients develop processes, hire high-performing team members, and better understand their financial metrics and numbers to allow for a more predictable, less hands-on business. To schedule a free, no-pressure consultation, head to thinktyler.com and click the meeting button. Tyler would love to see if he can help you work on your business, not in your business. Schedule a consultation today at thinktyler.com. Think life, think success, think business.
That's given me a lot of personal growth and allowed me to support our franchise partners, which then, to your point, they've been able to impact their communities from a fulfillment, but also from a financial business opportunity as well.
Hey, so as you know, leadership in business is really important, especially growing small businesses that are trying to get to the next level. Is there anything that stands out to you? Like maybe if you have 5 things, like what are some things that entrepreneurs can do to improve their leadership skills? Like anything stand out for you, particularly 5 things if you have them?
Ooh, I love that. Well, I'll give you my leadership framework first. My
Yeah.
overall philosophy is adversity is your advantage. And I'm a huge believer in Stoic philosophy. And you break Stoicism down, there's a few ways to attack it. But what's in your control and what's outside of your control. And it sounds so trite and basic, but focus completely what's in your control and dismiss everything outside your control. And that's a great, to step in the right direction to leading yourself, which my philosophy and framework is number one, lead yourself. Number two, lead your family. Number three, lead your empire. So it starts with you. So, to your point from a strategy perspective, and this is why I love fitness. Fitness is self-leadership. And why I'm hugely passionate about teaching leadership is because if you look at our population today, which I love and adore, I feel so grateful to be American, but 80% of our population is either statistically obese or significantly overweight. And that has a lot of problems, both physically, emotionally, from a financial perspective as well. And what that shows me is there's not enough leadership in our own leadership, let alone our family and our business as well. So I think, leading you and starting with you is important. Then when you start leading your family, then as you scale, to, your communities and businesses and your empire, if you will, what I learned to be true is just the value of building teams through relationships. And I'm a relationship guy, and that has definitely served me well. There's no way that I can lead an organization, lead a team without strong relationships. So, Tyler, a lot of my time is focusing on the X's and O's in the business, executing, but a lot of my time is taking a step back, pouring into my team, building relationships, understanding who they are as people, what makes them tick. I need to know their spouses. I need to ask about their spouses. I genuinely care about their spouses. So I think from a relationship perspective, that's so important, which would be the next point of leadership. The, I guess, next step when I look at breaking leadership down, I think it's extremely important to be able to cast vision. As a leader, you have to be able to sell a vision that is better, that is more exciting, that is more fulfilling than it is today. And I think, from a leadership perspective, if you can get good at taking a step back, looking at the future, painting a vision for the future, communicating that vision for the future, that's been really, really inspiring for me. And I guess the last piece of the framework in terms of tactical steps is communication. And communication is a vital skill in leadership. And that means whether, we're just having a one-off conversation, if that means we're having a Zoom or an internet, podcast, that could be, picking up the phone and calling a vendor or partner. That could be getting on the stage and, delivering my keynote to, my hundreds of franchise partners at our annual convention or training facilities that we, execute on a quarterly basis. So communication and the study of communication, I just think is mission critical in leadership. So that was a lot, but hopefully some concepts you can break down. And
there's definitely 5 in there.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. No, that's great stuff. Sorry to interrupt you. Hey, just switching gears. Another thing, small businesses often have a real challenge with giving consistent experience. They don't have processes and systems, and that's kind of the lifeline, I would argue, and feel free to correct me if you don't agree. Franchises offer like this consistent experience. They have these processes and systems. How do you bring that together with your franchisees so that they're staying on the right page? Everybody's doing kind of the same thing. So when you walk into your facility, no matter where it is, they're kind of going to get the same experience. Is that something that evolves? Do you already have it written down and you're following that to the T, or is it kind of changing day to day? What's that look like?
Well, it's an amazing question. For our brand specifically, probably even more of an amazing question, because we started on the concept of what's called the anti-franchise franchise model, which was in some ways, it was a great model to kick things off and attracted a lot of people and it brought a lot of attention. But really what happened was it did not create a lot of alignment. So we had just some generalities, but really we gave the franchise partner, we're talking about the years of 2012 to 2018, way too much, I guess, flexibility and creativity. And when you have 50 locations, you have 100 locations, if you will, as long as you have a strong product and coaching, you can get away with that. But when you start scaling, and we have 300 locations as an example, when you start scaling to 100 locations, 150, 200, 250, you need systems even to be more dialed. You need consistency, because every little break in consistency, when you push that through long term, becomes a big break over time. So that's the $1 million question. And truth be told, there's no easy answer. This is something that my team is diligently working on, taking a step-ladder approach, breaking down each individual aspect of our business, systematizing it, get really, really granular, testing things to make sure they work before we roll them out to the brand. So these are all the internal process that we've adopted over the last 5 years. It's still a work in progress. And Tyler, if you want me to be really authentic and vulnerable, I would say that is the most challenging part, not only of the Fit Body Bootcamp franchise system, but talking and knowing other CEOs and founders is really to ensure their franchise partners follow the system, execute that system. And that'll be just a constant challenge for us, but it's part of the fun and part of the growth.
Yeah, I sense it is because some of these other franchises, I've kind of seen them evolve, and you'll see sometimes things change that are pretty clear. They're going in a different direction, or you'll read online where one franchise is doing X and the other is doing Y, and you can tell there's this constant friction of trying to keep everybody on the same page, but probably also being progressive as things change and what people, COVID and stuff, trying to be in the market in the right place at the right time.
Totally. And it's something I didn't fully notice. And we've all seen this, but every time you watch a commercial now with the franchise, you'll always notice at the very end, it says at participating locations. Because there's
Yeah.
this little disclaimer there, because even McDonald's, probably the most systematized, they still have at participating locations. And
Right.
what that goes to show is at scale, I mean, that's just a challenge.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I got a couple more questions, and then I want to talk about you, or actually one more question, and then I want to talk about a little bit about you
Sure.
in terms of what you're doing. I realize you may not be intimately involved with this, but I'm just curious. Cash flow is something that comes up for companies, managing cash flow, the companies that are trying to grow and scale. Have you guys done anything like, how do you, as you're adding more franchises and you're trying to scale your business, have you done anything special as you've gone through this, and how you manage cash flow, or how you kind of stay out ahead of the curve so you can continue to expand at the pace that you want to?
Yeah, and I think that's, our founder's brilliance. I mean, certainly it's expensive to launch a franchise, but
Yeah.
really from a scalability perspective, why franchising is such an attractive deal for an entrepreneur, assuming they have the vision and the wherewithal to create a system, is you can scale your brand with the opportunity given to other franchise partners, which means you don't have to generate all the upfront capital for all the new locations. You can recruit franchise partners to help with that process. So I think from a franchising business model, that's the beautiful part about scalability from a cash flow perspective. Over the course of time, you can scale a brand very, very strongly, assuming that your systems and the franchise partners are successful, for pennies on the dollar. Now, that said, one of the things that I've certainly learned throughout the process, and I learned a lot from my business partner and founder, is the value of sales and marketing. As they say in sports, winning cures all. As they say in business, like sales and profitability cures all. So, we thankfully have a really strong sales and marketing engine, and that's been able to help us be able to push through things like the Black Swan event from COVID, which just was, mix up for all of us. But also too, like with time, things change in terms of scalability, like, where you're currently at in a business right now. We're in continued growth mode. So we're bringing on locations, but also, back to my earlier point, how we were founded on a model called the anti-franchise franchise. And then 2018, part of the reason Pedro's put me on is he knew that he wanted more owner presence to create more alignment. We call the business system the Fit Body Way. So that's really important. As we've been able to grow and scale, we've had to spend more time, more focus on getting our operational systems way more efficient, which has been an investment for us to spend time, energy, and resources on this particular part of the process. But the good news is what it's done over the last 3 years, it's made our business operations way more efficient. So the cost has actually gone down. So that's provided us more room at an HQ level to be adding on new team members. And, as an example, we've under my, leadership in the last 3 years, we've added $750,000 of payroll to our headquarters to put us in a position so we can scale even further of a handful of years. But to put a bow on it, that is just an entrepreneur's topic of conversation about scaling and cash flow. I don't have the secret sauce for you, but what I do know is what I just laid down. And I'm happy to provide any more insight.
Yeah, no, that's cool stuff. So, hey, before I wrap up here, I want to talk about you and what you're doing. I believe you do speaking, you do business coaching, and obviously you're running a very successful franchise. Talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, I'd love to know in the business coaching arena, what do you see? And if you could quantify even maybe like 3 things, what do you see where a business or an individual wants to invest in business coaching? Where are some opportunities that you see that they could use improvement, where you add value or where you can help that individual or that business? Anything stand out for you?
Yeah, and this is probably a little jaded from the fitness world, if you will, but it's interesting. A lot of fitness entrepreneurs or artists in general, they're just passionate about their craft. They want to go into it, but they have this kind of unhealthy at times respect for sales and marketing. So the first thing when I've ever connected with an entrepreneur, you don't have to love sales and marketing, but you got to respect it. Kind of like air or water. You don't have to love water, the taste of water, but you better respect it, because if you don't drink it, you're going to die. And that sounds very cold and crass, but it's the truth. And it's the same with, sales and marketing. So having a very, very strong, healthy and respect for sales and marketing, I think is crucial. Why I'm so passionate about leadership, my friend, is because leadership is always the problem and it's always the solution to organization. And humbling myself, as I kind of gave you my origin story, back in 2012, when I was so excited to launch my first location, I got my business off the ground. I was a great coach. I knew that from a health and fitness perspective, I could add value. I could run sessions. But what I realized after about 6 months in and my business started to grow, I needed to bring on coaches. And what I realized is they didn't have the same level of tenacity and fire in their eyes as I did for coaching. But what I realized taking a step back, I was the problem. I didn't cast a vision. I did not be able to provide a good training program. And that was not good at providing feedback and providing the space and the clarity on what my level of expectation for execution was. And really, Tyler, when I broke that down, I had this like leadership crisis. I realized, oh my God, the most important skill for business ownership is leadership, because it's literally impossible, especially at HQ level when I'm running, a big 8-figure business. For me to know every single aspect of running the business is impossible. I'm here with you on Zoom and technology. I have my awesome senior videographer, a dear friend of mine, Pablo, behind me. I don't know how to turn a camera on. I don't know how to shoot all this crazy, awesome, content he puts out. I don't know the ins and outs of bookkeeping. I don't know a lot of things about my organization, but what I do know is how to cast vision to be able to provide a more compelling future than what is today. And I know how to love on people. I know how to lead people. And because I've learned how to lead people, then I can bring all this talent together towards a common goal. And I've just been super successful. So because of that, I am so passionate about teaching leadership, because I think leadership is in a big void. So to answer your question, to go back on that, not only from a sales and marketing threshold, but having a strong respect and value for leadership, because when you learn this skill, then you can bring all the other skills in your organization. That's been my experience and why I'm passionate to teach it.
Yeah, I love your transparency too. Like when things weren't working right with your group, it wasn't, hey, I'm just hiring the wrong people, or they're jerks, or they can't do a good job. It was like, hey, I need to improve my leadership skills and I need to improve my perspective to make them more effective. And I think that transparency is really cool, because a lot of times it is us. If we look at it from our perspective, from our lens, a lot of times that's how we change our world, rather than trying to change the world to fit us. So that's cool.
Amen to that. In full transparency and vulnerability, it probably wasn't my first coach when I had that aha. I think it was my second or third. When the pattern was repeating, I was like, all right, Bryce, like, yeah, you thought it was coach one. It's clearly now multiple coaches. It can't be these multiple coaches. It has to be me. So
Sure.
It took me a few reps to figure that out, but thankfully I did.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. It takes a while to sink in. So this is good stuff. Is there anything before? So your website, by the way, I'm going to give people a cheat code, and then I'm going to give them the real version is therealbrycehenson.com. Real Bryce is BRYCE, Henson, HENSON. The shortcut, which I'm a hacker, you could just also go to brycehenson.com and it'll get you there. So for some reason, Real isn't working, just use Bryce Henson. I'll also put it in the show notes. Before we wrap up, anything I left out or anything you want to share to the audience? I mean, I've loved your time, and you have so many like little wisdom bombs you've thrown in. I feel greedy of even asking for more, but does anything stand out?
Oh, shoot. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Tyler, you're a great conversationalist. I'm passionate about freedom. That's really going to break it down. And my core values and my mission, which I believe will help human prosperity, is I teach leadership, I promote capitalism, and I defend free speech. And when you look at those from a passion perspective, I believe those three ingredients are important for human prosperity. So to answer your question about, some parting piece of wisdom, I would say if you're listening to this, you're watching this, lead with passion. I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about leadership. Fitness is leadership. I lead an organization. Why I've been successful, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but what I do is I lead with my heart. I lead with passion. I love on people. And I believe in, my mission, and I've identified that mission. And I shared that mission with you so that way your audience can know. So if you heard that and you resonated, awesome. Okay, great. You can attack a mission similar to mine. Or if you're on a different path, that's okay. But I would just say, life is too short. We only got one shot this globe. So just latch onto something you're passionate in, way more than woo-woo type of advice. Business is hard. You're going to get hit in the face over and over again. So from a practical perspective, you got to be passionate. And to put a bow on this, I always sign off my podcast with a sense of urgency, a call to action. The fact is, in this life, no one is coming to save you, my friend. You must save yourself. And the time is now. And that would be probably my parting piece of wisdom for your audience.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
In this life, no one is coming to save you, my friend. You must save yourself. And the time is now. And that would be probably my parting piece of wisdom for your audience.
That's awesome. What's the name of your podcast?
So I'm actually transitioning the branding. Currently, at the time of this recording, it's the Fitness CEO Podcast, but I'm super excited. On July 3rd, the day before Independence Day, I'm transitioning the branding of the show to be called the CEO Show with Bryce Henson. So that will be the new branding of the show, the CEO Show with Bryce Henson. You can find it on all my social media handles, including YouTube at Real Bryce Henson.
Cool. I'll include your podcast link in the show notes. That's exciting transformation. So it sounds like you're going to a little bit of a wider type net in terms of who you talk to and what you talk about.
The branding is going to be wider, but actually
Okay.
the pillars of what I'm going to be teaching are narrow. I'm going to teach leadership. I'm going to promote capitalism and defend free speech. So those are the pillars, but the branding is wider. And if really you break it down from a tactical perspective, the CEO Show podcast, it's a podcast around leadership. And I just put my own personal beliefs and flair into that as well.
Very cool. Very cool. So once again, Fit Body Bootcamp, and I'll definitely check out as soon as you guys get one in my neck of the woods, South San Jose. I'll definitely check it out. I always love checking out the fitness areas around here and just getting a vibe for them and seeing if it fits with kind of how I fit in there and if I get something out of it. So
I love it.
I love also that you guys are integrating nutrition. By the way, I think that always seems to get people just think like you're going to go exercise and you're going to drop a lot of weight, and
Not at all.
that's a big component of it.
Yeah, 80% for sure.
Yeah. So get one in San Jose, okay?
Working on it.
Okay, man. Thank you so much for your time. You've been an awesome guest. I hope to talk to you again in the future.
Thanks so much, Tyler. I appreciate you, my friend.
That's all for this episode of Think Business with Tyler. But we have plenty more resources to help you in your pursuit of business excellence on our website at thinktyler.com. If you'd like to be featured in a future episode of the show, feel free to reach out to us on social media at think_Tyler. We look forward to helping you think life, think success, and think business.
Welcome to Transforming 45, the podcast that celebrates the incredible power of passionate voices. I'm your host, Lisa Boat. Join me in conversation with heart-led humans who share their deeply personal stories of transformation. Transforming 45 is here to uplift, connect, and remind you that it's never too late to write your next chapter. So get ready to be inspired, empowered, and transformed. Join me in this community where through powerful storytelling, we heal and reclaim our inherent magic.
Electricast.
Introducing the Deep Leadership Podcast. Leadership is a people business. That's the philosophy of your podcast host, John Rennie. As a former submarine officer who spent 22 years leading businesses in corporate America before starting his own manufacturing business, he knows that leadership matters. Deep Leadership is real-world, actionable leadership advice from John and his expert guests. Become a leader worth following. Subscribe today.
Electricast. Electricast.